Okay, blessed be everyone. Welcome to the Mystery Witch School YouTube channel. Hey, we've got another live. This time we're talking about 4 of the witch's tools. But before we do that, I am Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. I'm the author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path, which is I'm going to refer to because I've got information in there about the tools in that. And this is a good channel for you if you want to know anything about Wicca and witchcraft, magic, and shadow work, as well as the tarot too. And if you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice, but you're just not sure about, like, where do I start? What do I need to do? What's the best way for me to learn the craft, as in starting here and then how do I learn all of this other stuff? Like, how do I learn it all? I have a free video called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. The link's in the description field below this video once the video is published, and you can also go to mysterywitchschool.com and find the links to the video and everything there as well. So I hope I've got the chat enabled. Please say hello in the chat if you're watching live. If you're watching in the replay, which is probably most people, then still comment in the comments field. That I will still see them and I'll still answer them. When it comes to the comments field, sometimes I don't get comments for like 6 months or 12 months. Sometimes YouTube, for some reason, lose comments temporarily, and then 6 months later they pop up. So if you have commented and I have not given you a heart or responded to you, it's probably because you're sitting in the YouTube void somewhere and I can't see you on my back end. You might pop up in 6 months or a year from now. It's just the way YouTube does things sometimes. I also acknowledge pretty much everybody who does comment on my channel too. So even the trolls will get acknowledged, usually with a heart, because I feel if you're a troll, then you probably need some love. So I give the hearts out to those as well. I would probably only ever block anyone who was being particularly probably just, vulgar in ways that people don't want to read comments. So everybody gets some love and some comments back. Hello, Not Queen. Hello, Pixie Dragon, Ash, Michelle Spot. Hi, Lewis, Mike, Joy, Cosmic Witch, and hello, Astarte. So today we are going to be talking about 4 of the witch's tools. So I also want to let you know there's also super thanks and super chat too if you want to donate anything. Smut doesn't have to be big to the channel. There's also PayPal me link there as well. And I've already talked about too, if you're looking for other YouTube videos on this topic of witches tools, I have videos on each of the witches tools. So there's a whole video to the wand, there's a whole video to the cup, there's a whole video to the pentacle and the Athame, and I think even the cauldron I've got whole videos on. So you can find them in my playlist. I think it's called Wicca for Beginners or something like that. I'm also going to be referring to information in my book, Crafting Your Wiccan Path too. So if you haven't read that yet, you can get that from Amazon in your country. So look for it in Amazon in whatever country you live in. Okay, so witches' tools. Which one am I going to start with? We have 4 tools that we commonly use, particularly in a Wiccan form of witchcraft, or witchcraft that kind of came out of more the Gerald Gardner era. And the reason we use these particular 4 tools, it's their history, I guess, or their ancestry, largely comes from Gerald Gardner's interest in the Golden Dawn. And they, of course, use these implements. They might use them a little bit differently to how we use them, but you'll find that they're pretty prolific in ceremonial magic and anything that sort of comes out of that Western ceremonial or high magical genre. So we have them as well. And the reason we use tools is because they help us focus, they help us feel into ritual and magic. Yes, of course, we don't need them. We don't need anything other than ourselves for magic. That's true. But the tools just help us extend ourselves and our magic, and they help us connect to what it is that we're doing on a psychological and energetic level, which is really important. Our psychology, our energy is really important for ritual and for magic, and we need to be in the right space and the right zone psychologically, like emotionally, mentally, energetically, in order to be able to focus our energy or focus on magic. And our tools help us do that. There's a lot of different tools that we do use. I have mentioned a few in my book, other than the pentacle, the cup, the athame, and the wand, which I'll talk about today. We also have an altar, which is a small table, or it could be a large table, or it can just simply be a space on the floor for some people, depending on your space. We have the besom, which is our broom. Of course, the cauldron, which we often use for spell work and for herbs. Uh, the sword, which is just basically a much longer version of the athame, and we have the bowline, which is another type of knife, sort of sickle shape, traditionally to cut herbs when we're harvesting our herbs from the garden, and they're the most common tools you'll probably see in books. But the ones that we tend to favour, the ones I certainly talk about in the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy course, which is my course on Wicca and Witchcraft. I'll talk about that at the end of the video. I talk mostly about the 4 tools and how to use what we call the 4 tools, or the 4. In some traditions, particularly in ceremonial magic, they'll refer to them as weapons, which I guess they can be weapons in the sense of warding off entities and energy that you don't want to have. So, in a way, they can be used as weapons or as defense items, but we call them tools essentially in the craft. So, I'm going to start with the Athame. I think I'll definitely start with the Athame. The Athame, I think, is one. This is mine. This is a later version of mine. My very first Athame, or dagger, which essentially it is, was a letter opener, and it was in the replica of Excalibur. And I used that letter opener for years and years and years and years and years. Because I liked the little Excalibur sort of form of it. And it was actually, because it was small, like a letter opener size, it was pretty handy to carry around and things like that. The Athame, this is really interesting. This Athame came to me on a birthday many years ago. And this birthday was quite significant because on the same birthday, I actually got a cup as well, or a chalice as well. And I wasn't expecting either of them. And this was at a really crucial time in the craft when I was coming back to the craft after having left it for quite a few years, and I was feeling the ache to come back to the craft again. And then on my birthday, it was almost like I was given the nod, it's time to come back, by receiving this Athame and also another cup, which I don't have in here at the moment. And as soon as I saw this, it wasn't given to me as an Athame, it was given to me simply as a dagger, because my father-in-law at the time, he collected replicas of swords and daggers and all of those sorts of things. And so, because I liked those, I like all those. I think a lot of people who are in the craft like, swords and daggers, just from an aesthetic point of view. Then, so he gave me one for my birthday. So that's this one here, which is my Athame. Typically, your Athame is made of steel, and it often has a black on it here, and can be a really long, fine thing like this, or it can be a shorter, more stumpy kind of dagger, which is more like the ceremonial type of dagger. Look, they can be in any shapes or sizes. It really depends on what you find for one thing, and what you like. Typically, the Athame's double-edged as well. So this one here is a double-edged sword. There's significance in that. It means that there's two sides to the energy of a sword. There's two sides to what it represents. It can cut for good, and it can also cut for bad. So it's always understanding that the sword cuts both ways. And we have to always remember that we're always on a fine line, walking a fine line sometimes between cutting in a harmful way or cutting in a benefic way. So it's just a reminder. The element of air, which in most witchcraft traditions in the West is associated with the Athame, although in some traditions, particularly the Celtic ones, the Athame might be associated with fire. We're looking at the element of air also representing that. In the tarot, you'll know that the air element is often represented by swords in the tarot, and that the swords represents thoughts, and that thoughts can cut both ways. Our thoughts can help, and our thoughts can cause a lot of conflict. And that when you look at the conflict in the world throughout history and current times, it's often our thoughts and our beliefs and our ideologies that have created the conflict. So the sword is kind of a reminder, and the Athame is a reminder that we have to be careful with our words, we have to be careful with our thoughts, and really get to understand and know ourselves. So it's a good implement just simply to help us remember that our thoughts and our words can cut both ways. And what we're trying to do in the world is to bring more beneficial things into the world, and to reduce the amount of harm that we do in the world. Okay, Athame looks awesome. Thank you. Is it helpful to have more than one Athame, perhaps different sizes? Yeah, you can have more than one. Absolutely. Look, people collect them, just like tarot decks. So yes, you can have them for different things. You might decide that you want to use one Athame purely for ritual. You might want to dedicate another one to a deity like Hecate, for example. I have a dagger that I use when I'm working with Hecate. You might also decide that for different spell work, you might want to use different uh, athames or different daggers. So it's really up to you how you work. To keep things simple, though, one is sufficient. Okay. I've trained to use the sword or prana mudra when I don't have my athame with me. Yep, absolutely. So again, the athame is not something that's necessary. We can use the same energy that we would use the athame for by channeling energy through our fingertips, or really any point in our body. We can channel energy and direct energy. The athame traditionally is used purely for energy work. It's not used to cut anything or anyone, including oneself. It is purely an energy cutter. So it can cut through energy. So if you feel there's a lot of thick energy around you, you can cut that up using the athame. Thought forms. So you could cut up thought forms or reduce thought forms in your magical work using your athame. You can project energy as well through your athame too. So if you're creating a circle, often people will use an athame to project energy to actually energetically create the actual circle itself. So around the circumference of the circle, you'll maybe walk around the circumference of the circle, or if it's a tiny circle, stand in the middle and just project that energy out through your athame. Imagine that it's could be like a blue energy or a yellow golden energy coming out from your body through your arm, through your athame, out from the point to the circle, and then you can see that light going around the circle as you're creating that circle. That is how I learned to use the Athame, was in doing circle work and also in invocation to the elements. When if you're drawing pentagrams for your elemental, uh, to call the elements in, the watchtowers in, the pentagrams are often drawn by the Athame as well, projecting your energy through the Athame, through the tip, and imagining that that energy is drawing a pentagram at each of the quarters. That's another way that I learned to use my Athame. When I was initiated, we were handed our Athame. That was part of our initiation. We weren't actually handed any of the other tools. It was the Athame that was consecrated by the high priest and high priestess, and we were handed that when we were first crafted in my first coven. So it's got a very strong significance, the Athame, because it's a tool of power. It's, if you think of swords and daggers and what they were used for in the mundane world, they're usually used as a weapon of some sort, either self-defense or to inflict harm. But if you think then of knives, we can also use them to cut up vegetables and eat and feed ourselves. We can use knives to cut things, to build things, shelter and things like that. So there's that double-edged quality to the sword and to the Athame from a symbolic point of view there. Okay, back to the comments. Okay. Potent inscriptions to write on the Athame, like runes or sigils. There are. You could work with maybe some of the, like Mercury as a planetary symbol on the Athame, if you're working with that sort of air element. Um, I haven't got anything inscribed on mine. I'm not big on inscribing things into on my tools, but that's just my personal preference. Uh, you could use astrological symbols, uh, anything that's associated with the element of air to put on your tool. Do you use the Athame or the wand to draw the circle? You can use, I personally use the Athame because I was taught to use the Athame and I got used to using the Athame. I have used my wand to draw circles on some occasions. I just don't, for some reason, it doesn't feel the same for me. The weight of it, perhaps, I like the weight of the Athame. There's a little bit of a heaviness to the weight because of the metal, and I like that weight compared to using the wand. Up until I think it was 2011, here where I live in Queensland, you couldn't take Athames out anywhere. There's laws, weapons laws, and so swords or Athames or anything were not allowed. And so wands were the best thing to use outdoors if you were going to do anything outdoors, so that you wouldn't get arrested and have them confiscated. Now they've brought in a law that if it is for ritual purposes, like it is to do with your religious beliefs or spiritual practices, then you can carry them from your home to the ritual space and then from the ritual space back home again, but you can't stop anywhere in between. So it's kind of a strange thing. Okay. Um, Thank you for clarifying the whole thing about not cutting things. I didn't know. Been coming every week. Okay. So I appreciate when you answer questions. Don't feel dumb about asking questions. Okay. Does not having a coven make any difference? No, you don't need a coven. I've been solitary for a long time now. I sought a coven probably after being solitary for almost maybe 18 months to 2 years because I simply wanted to learn from people and I wanted to meet other people who were also practicing the craft. So it was very much from a learning perspective. This was back in the 90s, of course. There wasn't the internet then. And it was really the only way to learn from anybody was to join a coven back then. So that's why I joined one. And look, they're a lot of fun. If you get a good coven and you've got good leadership in the coven, they can be so much fun. We used to go camping and things like that. It was a lot of fun. It was a good coven, good leadership, and they can be a lot of fun. But you do have to be cautious when you're looking for a coven. I've done videos about covens, and also videos about cults as well. So have a look at those on my channel too if you want to find out a little bit more about covens. And I've done a video too about, covens versus being solitary as well. So there's videos here about that too. Is it more potent to make your own tools? Yes, of course it is. Yes, you've put your energy into it and you make your own tools. I know people who do make their own Athames. Uh, you definitely will get much more of a connection to your tool if you're making your tool yourself. The wand is a precision tool. The staff is a jack of all trades. Yeah. Do Athames and wands store any residual energy? Yes, they will restore your energy, particularly. Remember, you're channeling with these tools, so they will have your energy on them. Do Wiccans ever work with the archangels? Yes, we work with archangels. My first coven, we didn't work with them originally, but towards the end of my time with that coven, that we were starting to work with archangels at the quarters. I like to work with archangels at the quarters because I really find they're good to work with, and I'm not. Uh, I don't really. I'm not concerned that angels, or the word angel anyway, comes from that Judaic sort of Christian background. Angels existed prior to Christianity and Judaism. They may have been called different names at the time, but spirits are spirits. So I do work with the archangels. Okay, so with your Athame, it is about projecting energy from yourself through the palms of your hand into the tool and then out through the point of the tip. So if you're good at practicing projecting energy out through your fingertips, perhaps, or even your eyes, for example, you can project energy out through your eyes, or any part of your body, really. If you're used to doing that, then the tool's just adding that little bit of extra energy to, or more direction, actually, through the fine point of the tool into your work. You can use your Athame also to consecrate your water and your salt if you're setting up a circle. It's another thing I use my Athame for, is consecrating. You can use your wand for exactly the same thing. They're pretty similar, actually. They're both active tools, as in they project energy or channel energy through them. So they're an active energy. This is the active energy of air, whereas your wand is the active energy of fire. To consecrate your Athame, you can run it through some incense. You can even sleep with it under your pillow if you're wanting to build a connection to it. But the best way to build your connection to any of your tools is to use them. So use your Athame to cast your circle, use your Athame to consecrate your salt and your water. You can use your Athame to project energy into a spell of some sort. So projecting energy into a candle, projecting energy into a talisman, projecting energy into magical teas or potions, blessing your herbs. You can use your Athame for all of those things. When I'm blessing something, I will often form or draw an equal armed cross representing the 4 elements with my Athame, if I'm using the Athame, as it's like a symbol of blessing. You can even, if you do Reiki and you've done the Reiki symbols, you can use your Athame to draw the Reiki symbols into things as well, into the air if you're using Reiki protection symbols, or into your spell work if you're using Reiki. It can just extend that energy of the Reiki that you've used or learned or picked up, I should say, that was channeled into you by your Reiki master. Okay, the attunements. I learned that there were the Mire, the Fates, and the Passe, 3 of them by name, Ephesius and 2 others, and a couple of others, I think. Yes, the Mire or are the Fates. That's Cloto, Lachesis, and Atropos. I haven't worked actually with the passe, so I'm not familiar with those goddesses. Can you tell us how you've been sure that your magic or others worked? By the result. You know your magic's worked when what you're doing magic for has happened. So if you're doing magic uh, for example, healing, and the healing happens, then you know the magic has probably worked. Okay, no, you're assuming that it was magic that contributed to that. But when it comes to healing, magic's really just something that you use to contribute to the treatment. Obviously, there's healing is something that often involves a lot of different things, and magic's just one thing that you can give to it to help the healing along. Uh, when it comes to, like, I guess, love magic, if you're doing a love spell and then somebody turns up, uh, you could say the magic's worked. Or if for doing a spell and it hasn't happened, then the magic hasn't worked, and it doesn't always work. Okay, and there's a number of reasons why magic doesn't always work. So it's by the results, the result you get. If you get the result you're after, it's worked. If you don't get the result you're after, then it either hasn't worked the way you've wanted it to work, or it's worked maybe if it's partially a result, or it's sort of the result, but it's not quite what you wanted it to be, then it's worked, but perhaps just not in the way that you consciously wanted it to work. Um, but I've got lots of videos on magic, how it works and why it doesn't work, and what you need to do to make it work on the channel. Um, okay, so that is the Athame. Okay, one of the favorites. Some people don't have Athames that are made from steel. I know some people have obsidian Athames or bone Athames. Obsidian is good because it was one of the original uh, materials to make spears and things from. So you can kind of see the connection there with obsidian. Just remembering that obsidian itself has got its own energy, and that it's not going to have the same kind of, it's going to have a different type of energy if you're directing energy through obsidian than just directing energy through steel, for example. So you're taking that stone, obsidian, and utilizing its energy too. If you have anything that's made from a gemstone or a stone in general, then it's going to have that energy of the stone in there. Those sorts of wands or daggers are generally used more for particular spell work or for healing work. Okay. So the next tool I will talk about actually is the cup. Now, this is my very first cup. It is just a ceramic cup. Nothing fancy, just a ceramic cup. I actually got this at I think it was the Salvation Army, secondhand. I know people would say, don't get things secondhand, but it's been very well consecrated over the years. I kept it simply because it was my first one, and it's the one I still use. Okay, I've got others. I've got the one that I did get for my birthday, which is actually used more ornamentally because it's much prettier than this one. This is pretty plain looking uh, there. And what the cup does is the cup's not an active tool. The cup is more about containing essence. So it gives form to things. It gives form to whatever's in it, right? So whatever's in the cup is going to become the shape of the bowl of the cup. So if you've got a round cup, which generally they will be, because the circle is a symbol that we use too. Some cups, though, they can be sort of more square in shape. But generally, the circle is important. The cup represents, I guess, a smaller version of the cauldron too. So there's a lot of overlap with the meaning of the cauldron and the meaning of the cup, the same as there's overlap with the sword and the athame. It's like a womb. So it's like a womb space in the center there, and it contains and gives form. The cup reminds us that even though with magic we can direct energy in our will with our Athame or the wand, it's also about allowing that magic to work and surrendering to the result of the magic and allowing the magic to do its thing and not get caught up in worrying about when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. It's about just allowing it, the magic, to form over time. So it's that passive aspect to the polarity of active and passive. This is the passive aspect. It represents the element of water. So you've got the water association here, representing our emotions and our feelings. A lot of love magic. You might want to use the cup to maybe brew your potions in if you want to use it for that. To celebrate anything that is to do with emotions and feelings because it's associated with the element of water. The cup receives the energy, so it's a receiving device. So where the wand and the Athame are actively channeling and projecting energy, and in the case of the wand, it can either be, also containing energy. Your cup's receiving the energy. So whatever's in the cup is going to receive the energy. So if you're blessing the wine or blessing whatever's in your cup, the Athame or the wand might be the ones doing the blessing, but the cup's actually containing what is being blessed. And when we drink from the cup. What else? I wrote some notes down here, but just so that I don't forget to say things. Oh, yes. The nurturing aspect of the cup too, because it represents that nurturing aspect of the womb. And the flow state because of its association with the element of water. So being in the flow, getting into flow state is important for magic. Sometimes we can have all the right tools, we can have all the right ingredients, but find it really difficult to get into the flow state psychologically, energetically, in order for the magic to really come alive and to project our intention into the spell work. And the cup is a reminder about just allow yourself to be and be in the flow. Sometimes you don't have to be active all the time. It is also about being able to surrender to receiving and surrendering to allowing the magic to do its thing. So there's that polarity of active and passive always going on when we're doing magic, and understanding it's a balance between the active and the passive energies, the giving and the receiving energy there that we often associate with the god and goddess. Okay. Okay. Dragon goblet. Oh, that'd be awesome. I love dragon things. I think a lot of us love the dragon. The dragon's a wonderful symbol. I should actually do a video on dragons. So that is the cup, and that is my cup that I've been using for a very, very long time. When it comes to consecrating your cup, again, run it through some incense. You can draw symbols around your cup, so water symbols or zodiac symbols to maybe the three water planets. Just with your Athame, you could have the three air planets. I meant signs, zodiac signs. With water, with your cup, you could have the three of the water signs around it and other symbols too. Do your research. There's a few books that actually do have different symbols that you can put on your tools. Some of the ceremonial magical books will have a lot of sigils and things you can put on these tools if you want to go into creating sigils, or you can create your own sigils and put them on your tools. It's not so easy to sleep, obviously, with this under your pillow, like maybe your wand and your Athame and your Pentacle can be. So if you're wanting to sort of bring it more into your own energy, then maybe you can just drink from it and have it as you drink your morning water out of it or something to bring you close to your energy. Don't share your cup with anybody either, not just for hygiene, but also simply for magical hygiene. Your tools, I should say, are yours, and you want to keep them yours energetically, so you don't share them with anybody, and you don't give them to anybody or loan them to anybody either, because they are yours and yours alone. The next one I want to talk about is the wand, another active implement or tool. This wand here, it was hand carved by Eric Addish, who is a local uh, maker of tools for uh, magical folk in general, and it's very, very beautiful, as you can see. It's I think it's made from eucalypt. Um, so it's a native plant here in Australia. I like to work with native things. But wands traditionally are those typical northern hemisphere trees, although we do have various different versions of those here too in Australia. So the oak and the birch tree are pretty common for people to have their wands carved out of. Uh, your wand can be used in very similar way to the way that your Athame is used. People can draw circles and create circles and set up a circle with your wand as your tool of projection. You do exactly the same thing as you would your Athame. The energy's coming through you, and you're just using your wand as an extension of your energy. And at the point of the wand is where the energy is projected out. You can use your wand to consecrate things. So again, your herbs, your candle, your magical bags, potions, whatever, you can use your wand to consecrate and direct energy into those. Wands can be used for blessings as well, more so than Athames. It's a tool of blessing. A wand too has that aspect of power associated with it, individual power associated with it. With the Athame, it's generally more like a defense thing. Um, you can banish things with your Athame and have it as a bit of a defense tool because it is a dagger. With your wand, it's kind of more of a wielding of your own inner power or your magical power in the world. So you can use your wand to feel into your magical energy and feel into your ability to be a co-creator with the universe. Wands or scepters, of course, were used as symbols in for royalty as well, and of course throughout folklore, the wand has been a symbol of basically being somebody with power. And so you can use that to, wands can be used to invoke and to bring energy in as well to you. So whereas the Athame is usually projected out, it's not something generally would have anything projecting in or sucking in through your Athame. Your wand, you could often direct it at something and actually take the energy in through the wand. The wand, because it comes from a tree, generally, so the wand that we would use in the craft is generally wood of some sort. Crystal wands and wands that are made out of other natural things are often used more for healing or for a particular type of work, whereas our general wand is made from wood. It connects us to the wood energy. It connects us to the idea of the tree being the center, I guess, or the center of the universe in a way, because it has its roots in the earth and the branches out opening into the heavens. And so you can see the wand as being a little bit of a connection between the earth and sky. The wand, generally speaking, and this is in the tarot as well, represents the element of fire, although in some traditions it will represent air. And the fire is all about that passion energy and creativity energy. It symbolizes your potential, the wand, what potential you have to create in the world and be a co-creator with the universe in the world. You can draw down inspiration from your wand, from the sky, or draw it up from the earth. And it said blessings. You can bless things with your wand and give them that sense of blessing. Okay, the chalice also represents the feminine vessel. Yes, it does. It does indeed. So where the Athame and the wand represent the masculine energy of directed action, the chalice or cup and the pentacle represent the feminine and the elements of water for the cup. So they're the vessels that give form, the vessels that receive, and they contain. It's mostly about giving form, really, when you're looking at the feminine energy. Okay, a dragon wand made of ash. Awesome. 2 wands made of driftwood that I found on the beach. Yes, driftwood's great. I've got some really great pieces of driftwood that I use. My first wand was simply made from I think it was made from a ponciana tree, actually. You can make a wand out of anything that you find, driftwood, branch off a tree, uh, and, you can just carve it to look like a wand. Usually it measures, from the tip of your finger to your elbow, so it depends, I suppose, on how long you are, uh, as to how big your wand is, for most people. So I guess it's bigger. Its big sister or brother is the staff, but the staff, of course, has its own uses as well. Okay, so that is the wand. Wooden staff. Awesome. Staffs are great. Staffs are wonderful to take out when you're bushwalking and working outside with the staff. Or the sword, for example, because of its size, being much bigger than an Athame, is good for doing things outside. And you can use your sword to draw a circle or create a circle, the same as you could use your staff to do that too. The next one is the pentacle. Okay, so this is mine. It's just a small ceramic pentacle. Okay, it's not particularly anything flash. It took me a long, long time to even have a pentacle. They weren't easy things to get, and they were expensive to have made back when I first started. Traditionally, they're made of copper or wood, but these days you can make them out of pretty much anything. Obsidian's a pretty good one to make a pentagram from if you can get something like that. But this is just ceramic. I have actually got symbols on the back of this one because it was easy to draw the symbols on the back of it. So your pentagram, again, is a feminine symbol. It's a symbol of the earth. And we often use the pentacle for consecration. So if you're consecrating a crystal or something, or an amulet, for example, you would place it on your pentacle and have that as your foundation of your magic. So it symbolizes the foundation. So the earth is the foundation, right? The earth underneath us is the foundation. So our pentacle is the foundation. The actual 5-pointed star represents the 4 elements, earth, air, water, and fire. And the tip at the top represents spirit. And so that is working with the elements, but directing those elements towards the higher purpose or higher self, with the pentagram, with the pentacle point being upwards. When we're working with the pentacle, we will place anything that's been consecrated on it, so that symbolizes that energy of the pentacle consecrating also that whatever it is the object is that you are consecrating. This can also be used as a weapon, believe it or not, as a shield. So if you're doing magic to shield yourself, for example, you can use your pentacle as a symbol of the shield around you. So you could create the shield by just moving it around yourself and creating that energetic shield. With your pentacle, you could either even have a representation of whoever or whatever you're shielding, and have the pentacle there in front of that as a symbol of shielding that person or object from something from the outside. So it is used for defense. So it's got a little bit of, I guess, of an active aspect to it, but it's more of a defense than being like projecting energy out. It's more stopping things from being able to come or harm, because the symbol itself is a protective symbol. It's been used as a symbol of protection for a very, very, very long time. Okay. I saw a giant cauldron on Google this morning that washed up on the coast of Florida. Oh, wow. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder if they'll be able to figure out where that came from. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. That's a fun one. I used to do that ritual a lot. Thank you, Not Queen. Thank you so much for the super chat. So that's your pentacle. And I think originally it was, if I remember correctly, about 9 inches in diameter. It doesn't have to be a 9. I guess it's a number of the goddess, so you've got that numerological symbolism there, but mine certainly isn't that big. And I like the size of this one because it just fits well on my altar than, say, a bigger one does. Pentacles can also be used, of course, for like wards. So if you want to protect your home or protect your space, you can charge up a pentacle, or and have one that's, on the door of your home or above the door of your home, protecting it. I have seen on a house in a town called Ipswich here in Queensland. It was just around the corner from my aunt's place. And I saw this, it must have been when I was probably about maybe 14 or something. And I'd first come across witchcraft for the first time. We were out walking and there was a painted pentagram on top of this old home. And it's the first time I'd ever seen a house that actually had it there. And I thought that was pretty amazing, that it was just a feature of this beautiful old Queenslander home. I've also seen this symbol in the middle of the crucifix in the liberal Catholic Church as well. So given that the liberal Catholic Church is a more esoteric and they're a little bit more into mysticism and more into more of a mystical nature, it's interesting they put that in the center of their crucifix. So it's another place that I have seen the pentagram outside of the craft or outside of occultism or, ceremonial magic or something like that. A shipwreck. Oh, okay. It was a pure patina, though. Awesome. Can the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or sage banish the energy of the tools or alter by accident? No. You're wanting to banish energy that's with the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. You're banishing harmful energy, okay, or energy that is baneful energy. So if your altar is you're basically consecrating your altar and your tools if they happen to be in the middle of it all. But the banishing ritual of the pentagram is really putting it out like a barrier around yourself. So it's stopping things from coming into you rather than doing anything in the circle itself. It's not going to affect what's in the circle. It's only stopping things from coming at you from outside the circle. Okay. And it's interesting because if you look at The Golden Dawn, the book itself by Israel Regardie's compilation of everything, he actually talks about the invoking ritual of the pentagram and teaches that. The banishing one is something that you do at the end of the day, and the invoking one is what you would do at the beginning of the day. And it's interesting that over time, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is actually the one that people use most of the time. So that means you're banishing every day. So it is sometimes good to balance that with good stuff, bringing in positive energy too, just to balance it so you're not constantly banishing, and focusing on defense all the time, so that you don't you're not focused psychologically on defense all the time, I should say. Okay. So when we set up a circle, we will have these implements on the altar. I usually have the feminine implements such as the cup and the pentacle on the left-hand side, and the masculine implements such as the sword and the wand on the right-hand side, and that's how I work. The pentacle often ends up in the middle, because if I'm consecrating something, that's usually where it ends up, because it's sort of the center of attention. So it often ends up in that position. But beginning, they tend to be on representing the two polarities too, of active and receptive. And that's how I set them up. I will also have a cup of salt and another little bowl of water. And I create the salt water with those two. I don't necessarily use my cup to put the salt water in when cleansing the circle. When you start to open up the circle, start to create the circle, I usually use the cup more for the wine or whatever it is that you want to put in there as an offering or as a blessing. So that's what I use the cup for if it's just a ritual and there's no spell work involved. The Athame, I create the circle with. The wand, when I invoke the goddess and god, I will use the wand then. And the cup, sometimes I will put the cup actually on my pentacle as well. Because I don't really use the pentacle in a ritual as such, because I'm not consecrating anything, I'm not doing any spell work as such. So it's really just a symbol and sitting there as a symbol. Passive energy. Yeah, it is pretty much passive energy, but it's more like a ward. So it's kind of a barrier. I think of it as a barrier, I guess, rather than being something that's going to direct energy. Golden Dawn founder is a relative. Super cool. Oh, awesome. Edgar Casey too. Wow. Blavatsky also. The pine cone that represents the pineal gland have any place in magic that you're aware of? Yeah, representing the pineal gland, representing that part of ourselves that is receptive and that is connected to the universe and all and everything. Anything can be used as a symbol, and symbols are very powerful. As I said, in ritual, the pentacle is just a symbol. It's not doing anything in the ritual. I'm not using it for anything, but the symbol is still there, and the energy of the symbol and our subconscious connection and association with the symbol is what gives it power. And when you've got a symbol that's been used for a long time, that many, 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 many thousands and thousands and thousands of people have used in a particular way or associate with in a particular way, that takes on a collective symbolism then, and a collective energy too. Okay, Jason Miller says that doing the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, too often it's like wearing a big armor that keeps one from communing or having relationships with spirits. Any truth to this? Yeah, look, sometimes it can be overdone. Doing it all the time, it is like you're blocking out. You can sometimes end up blocking out some of the good stuff too, because you're constantly putting up a shield all of the time. It's good to the way that Israel Regardie wrote about it anyway, was that in the morning he'd do the invoking ritual, the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, and then in the evening, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. So it was balancing the invoking of magical energy and then banishing what was not necessary. I used to do it every day. for a long time, for a number of years. And I mean, it's good at first, I think, particularly if you're in an environment where there's a lot of crappy energy, where there's a lot of stuff coming at you and you just want some peace, then do it every day. Do it every day. Until you sort of feel like you want to do something else or create something else, like project maybe positive energy around yourself or work with various different ways of working with energy and doing different types of energy work. There's so many different things you can do with energy that it's worth experimenting with, because it's all energy that we're working with. And shielding is a good place to start um, when you do start out, because you do want to stay safe. But there's other ways that you can play with your energy on a daily basis and work with shielding or work with projecting energy that's still going to keep you safe energetically, that's actually going to raise your vibration in a more of a positive kind of high vibe way, um, rather than banishing all of the time. Okay, so that is the tools. I do dedicate a whole module in the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy to the tools. So if you are ready to learn witchcraft and you do want to have some guidance along the way and go slow at building your focus, your concentration, and your energy work, so that you can really experience what it's like to do the craft every day, to experience what it's like to work with energy on a daily basis, which will connect you to your purpose, will connect you to yourself on a daily basis and your practice on a daily basis. And that's what truly changes you. It's doing these things on a daily basis and touching base with yourself again every day. And you're touching base with who you are really every day, because it's just so easy to get caught up in the workaday world and the craziness of the world. There's so many uh, distractions out there and energetic thought forms out there, egregores out there that are just sucking the energy out of everybody. That when you've got a practice and you're learning your craft, it just puts you in a safer psychological state, and also gives you the sense that you are connecting to yourself every day. And that builds more and more as you do it. And that's the whole point of the Mystery Witch School Academy course, is that over that 12-month period and beyond, you are doing something every day and building on your own experience and your own ability to practice, can reconnecting to yourself and to nature and the divine. So if you're interested in looking at that, there is a link in the description field below this video. You can also find that on my website too, mysterywitchschool.com. Just go to courses, and there's a few different courses there, but that is one of them. And if you have watched or are interested in my free video, how to start your witchcraft practice, at the end of that, there's just a little bit about the course itself, the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. Okay, so that is the live for this week. I think the video I'm going to be doing this week on Thursday, Australian time, I think it's Wednesday in the US and Canada. I wanted to do it on being able to get into the right mental state, or the right sort of flow vibe, be in the space, be in the right space when you're doing magic, and a way that you can actually get into the space of it. Because sometimes you might have everything there, everything you need to do the spell, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard to know what zone to get into the zone of magic. So there's just some tricks that you can use to get into the zone of magic, to help you focus your intention and to have more success and get those outcomes that will prove to you anyway that your magic is working. So that's going to be what the video later in the week will be. Okay, I'm just going to put a link here. Whoops. Maybe not. I'm just going to put a link here to the Mystery Witch School Academy. Okay, everyone. Thanks, Astarte. Did you replace the lesser banishing pentagram with something more potent? If you can, do share. So I do a practice. There's actually a practice that I do in the Mystery Witch School. It's the daily practice one, the ultimate guide to starting a daily practice, where we do the light coming in from the heart. Also, I do a Hecatean practice too, a lot of the time with Hecate's guardians too. So that's another practice that I do sometimes on a daily basis that's replaced the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram for me. Um, yeah, so that's a really good one, but that one does actually belong to Jason Miller, so you would need to go to Jason for that one. I think he's got a version, a different sort of version of it though in one of his books, but the one that he does with Hecate is just really, really great. But it is his, so I can't share it. You need to probably do his course to do that. But it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful way of working with Hecate, and I still do it because it's just beautiful. Okay, then. So blessed be everyone. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. And I'm not sure what next week's topic's going to be. So yeah, have a good week.